So last night at the local .NET user group, we discussed .NET Core and more specifically ASP.NET Core. And I realized that even though I've been experimenting with .NET Core for a while, that there's something I haven't tried in some time, which is to get it installed on Cloud9. Now, Cloud9 is a really easy way to experiment with something on Linux because it only takes a couple of clicks to get a small Linux virtual machine and have in its and what it is actually backing a cloud-based IDE in the browser, and you can do this for free. So to sign up, you can use a GitHub or Bitbucket account, and they will require a credit card for identity verification, but they won't charge it unless you actually pay for something. So it is free. But at any rate, eventually you'll wind up at this screen here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create a new workspace. And this is going to ask me for a name, and I'll give it a name of .NET Core. There are several different pre-configured VMs that you can come up that you can use, but I'm just going to use a blank one. Hopefully one day we will see .NET Core in this list. And then click Create Workspace. This generally takes a couple of seconds. I've never seen it take more than a minute, but it depends on what kind of load is on the servers on Cloud9's end. So this won't take terribly long. Alright, and now here we have a workspace. Now this is being backed, the virtual machine is going to be Ubuntu 14.04. And it turns out that there's actually a package that we need to install before doing anything else. So I'm going to do a sudo apt-get update. You do have sudo shell access. And after this update, there's a package that we're going to need to install that will allow apt to use a secure source, a secure address to pull packages from. Don't worry about these warnings down here. So now what I need to do is I need to do a sudo apt-get install apt transport HTTPS. Okay, now to install .NET Core, need to go to .NET. However, we're going to go down here to the download button, and then there are going to be instructions for various operating systems. We've got Linux. Like I said earlier, we're running Linux Ubuntu, and we're running 14.04. Now the reason we needed to install that package is notice here that the source is a secure address. So we need to have that HTTPS package installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy, and then I will paste it over here. And then I will copy here and paste here. What this is going to do is this is going to add a key for encryption and security purposes, and then we will do another update to actually get the packages that .NET Core needs to install. Alright, with that done, we can actually use apt to do the installation itself. And that's all there is to it. To see if it worked, just type .NET. We don't get back an error. We get back usage information, so everything's cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, because we could go through and do the console application if you really want to see that, the instructions are here. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to install the tools needed to create ASP.NET Core applications. So what I want to do now is I need to first of all, I'm going to need Node to do this. So I want to make sure that, I've got a recent version of Node 4.4.5. I think 4.4.7 as of today is actually the latest stable release, but this will be fine. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to install Yeoman to generate templates for an ASP.NET Core application. So what I'm going to do is first thing I'm going to do is install -G for global. Yo. I'm going to need to install Bower because it's going to want to use Bower to pull in some things like Bootstrap and jQuery. And then also I'm going to get the grunt CLI, and then I want to have gulp as well. And this will take a few seconds. Again, there's going to be quite a few warnings here. From what I found, they don't have any impact on the installation. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more installation. Install-g generator-ASP.NET. So Yeoman is the engine, whereas the ASP.NET generator is what actually tells Yeoman what templates to generate. Alright, with that done, we can now actually create an ASP.NET Core application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new directory, and I don't know what I'll call it, apps, and then cd into apps, and I can type yo ASP.NET. It's going to bring up a menu here. The first time it's going to say, do you want to send statistics? Okay, fine. And then it's going to bring up this menu here, which is going to say what kind of application do you want to create. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, I'm going to create this web application, and this is actually going to create a full-fledged web application with the ability to for users to sign up and log in and log out and that kind of thing. We're not going to do any of that, but it exists. So I'll hit enter. It's going to ask me what kind of UI framework I want to use. I'll use Bootstrap. I actually have no idea what the semantic UI is, and I'll just call this web application 1. And so it's going to generate the files for ASP.NET, and it's also going to pull in the front end resources using Bower. And now we're done. And so now what we can do is we can go to cd web application 1 and run .NET restore to pull in the dependencies and the packages. And this takes a few extra seconds the first time, but after that it'll be fairly quick. Alright, with that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a .NET EF database update, because what this will do is this will initialize the database with the tables for the membership. And now at this point I could run the application. The problem is the application is going to run on port 5000, and port 5000 is not available for use on Cloud 9. Now I could run it here and then I could open up another terminal and interact with the server using curl, but on Cloud 9 we had to do something different. So I'm going to go over here into the application, and I'm looking for program.cs here. And right here, this is where the self-hosting is set up. And what I need to do is put in here, I need to put in the method use URLs, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the URL that I want this to work on. I want it to be on an address that'll accept all requests, and then the port that Cloud 9 likes, one of those which is 8080. So I'll save that. And now what I'll do is I'll go back over here to the command line. I'll do a .NET build, since I changed the code. And now I'll do a .NET run. And you see here it now says that it's listening on all zeros 8080. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new browser tab, and I'm going to go to .NET Core-binary-chef.c9users.io. .NET Core is the name of the workspace, Binary Chef is the username for this account, and then c9users.io is the domain that all Cloud9 applications are running on. And what Cloud9 is doing is it will map 8080 to port 80, so I don't have to put in the port. Hit enter, and in just a few seconds we'll see a web application come up. And just to prove that this is indeed running on this VM that we had, you can see a request here started for the famed favicon, but however, it was indeed at this address. And so now what you can do is you can go through and start reading the documentation and experimenting with other parts of the framework. Notice up here that we're actually using very little of the resources that Cloud9, about half of the disk space and less than half the memory and barely any of the CPU that Cloud9 has allocated for this VM. So it's very efficient. Also, it speaks to the efficiency of .NET Core. It does not take a lot to actually run it. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Please leave me some feedback if you have anything you'd like to say. Thanks a lot.